What's up, suppers? What's going on? It is Deibs, Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. Welcome to Suit Up. First things first, the Suit Up podcast can be found on iTunes and Spotify. If you're watching us on YouTube and you're new to the channel, hit like and subscribe below. On tap for today, we are going to talk movie monsters. Joining us today is the Jack Connell. Follow him on Twitter at Jack Connell. What's going on, Jack?
Nothing much, it was a great day. It's almost the weekend. A lot of stuff going on. Flyers, hitting it off. It's a great day. It's going great.
Love it. You ready to suit up?
Suit up.
Let's suit up. All right, guys, we are back. Today, we are going to count down our top 10 movie monsters of all time. Jack, anything you want to plug from Post Position?
Oh, I think we're recording a new episode tomorrow. Brock's got a new mic, excited to talk. We'll be talking some Jason Tatum, some 8th seed playoff battles. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun pod. Ready to do it.
Love it, love it, love it. Make sure you check out Post Position on Twitter. So I don't know Jack's list. He doesn't know my list. We're going to count down our top 10 movie monsters, leading off with 10. Jack, you ready to do this?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so leading off, I got an honorable mention because I had to add it into my list. I can't leave this one off. I don't know if you've ever seen this movie, but it is The Brain Bug from Starship Troopers in 1997. You ever seen Starship Troopers, man?
I have. That's a great campy 90s monster movie. I watched it when I was little, and I didn't think it was real. And I came back to it as I got older. The giant, I don't even know what praying man. They look like what's the thing from Star Wars that's on the
Rancor?
It's like the 4-legged Ahsoka Tano's home planet.
Oh man, you're killing me. You're putting me on the spot here. I don't know, man. I'm drawing a blank.
You keep going. I'm gonna find out what it is because I need to know what the name is.
All right, so The Brain Bug comes from Paul Verhoeven's sci-fi masterpiece. It just, this thing that burrows out of the sand. It's super intelligent. It sucks the brains out of people and learns their secrets. The Brain Bug is the leader of the bug colony. It's basically like the head of the snake. You kill the Brain Bug, you kill the colony. Just has some epic action scenes. I just loved Starship Troopers. It's still to this day, it holds up really well. One of the best movie monsters of all time.
Acklay. This thing.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I gotcha. Totally. Yeah, but, that Starship, that was from Clone Wars, right?
It was in Clone Wars, but it was in the other ones. But that's where I knew it from. It's from Felucia. That's their home planet.
Okay, cool. So let's go into your number 10, man. You lead us off. What's your number 10?
I got Pacific Rim. Nice. That's my number 10. So I'll do a little bit of disclaimer. I thought we were doing movies. Chris thought we were doing monsters. So overlap a little bit, but there's a little bit of confusion in case. But my number 10 movie is Pacific Rim. It's a Guillermo del Toro. It was a fantastic, well done, very monster movie-esque in the fact that it knows it's what it is, and it just goes a lot of monster fighting, a lot of robot mech fighting. It was really well done. The action scenes are great. The monster designs are great. The fights are fantastic. It's everything you want out of these movies. It's interesting. Granted, they aren't really based off of plot, but the plot itself is like the gypsy and how it's kind of two brains in one. It's an interesting thing. It's a new kind of twist on. I really like that. I thought it was really well done.
I love Pacific Rim, man. It's a great choice. It's not on my list, but it's like the perfect balance of bad movie meets awesome special effects, monster design, all that kind of stuff. There's so much overacting in it, and I love it. It's one of those movies you put on a Sunday and you watch the whole thing because it's just so damn entertaining. I love Pacific Rim. It's a really good one. My number 10 has to be the Graboid from Tremors back in 1990. Have you ever seen Tremors, man?
I have not.
All right. Tremors is an all-time classic, man. An all-time classic monster movie. Much like Kevin Bacon, Tremors like owned the 90s. So obviously, like I'm a 90s child. So everything 90s, I am, through and through in my blood. That's who I am. But Tremors was that like perfect balance between dark comedy meets this like monster movie. But the graboids are these like gigantic worms, like subterranean worms that have like these snake-like bodies, and they're just these like 30-foot long terrors under the ground. Just make sure you watch that, man. I swear to God, you'll love it.
All right, I'll be sure to check it out. I mean, I'm putting them all out, so I'm a big monster movie guy.
Yeah, man, Tremors, man. I swear to God, it's a classic. It's so many. It's been referenced in so many movies since then. It is a classic.
All right, I think you'll like my number 9. I think knowing you, it should be on your list.
Okay.
I'm going to count as I have the Iron Giant.
Oh God. Literally, I can't. Probably my favorite animated movie of all time, and it's not on my list. You're killing me, man.
But no, I mean, it's one of the most really well done animated kids movie that you can just relates to all levels, and it's just the animation's beautiful. Everything about it is just really well done. I think it's just one of the best. I think it will hold up the test of time as the years go on and has so far. And I think it's just a really well done movie. You can talk about more. It's your thing. You talk about more.
You come out with Pacific Rim, and then you go into the Iron Giant, man. You're coming out swinging, man. Jesus, like that. The Iron Giant, Vin Diesel's first movie, man. Vin Diesel was the voice of the Iron Giant. It is an all-time classic. You said the animation is perfect. I can't believe you said that. I'm just so happy right now. I think we just became best friends. My number 9 is Godzilla, the 2014 Godzilla. You are Mr. Godzilla, so I know we're going to get into that very soon. But what I loved about Godzilla, the 2014 film, I'm not the Godzilla expert, you are, but I really liked Godzilla, the 2014 Godzilla, because you didn't really see Godzilla until basically the third act of this movie. It was kind of like that, like Steven Spielberg Jaws, where what you don't see makes it so much more effective and rewarding and memorable at the very end of the film. And that was Godzilla. I love the character design of Godzilla. I cannot wait for Godzilla versus Kong coming out in several months. That's my number 9, man. What was your take on Godzilla back in 2014?
It was a letdown. I had many Godzilla fans had very high expectations. If you go back and you look at the first 1 or 2 trailers, there was so much that it had a much different tone to it. So like you had the Death Destroyer of World, like the whole I am Death Destroyer of World speech to it. You don't see it; just looks like terror. It looked a lot like a modern version of the 1954 version. Just how it presented itself as a natural disaster and nothing really beneficial of it. And that's what many fans were excited for, was that version of it. And we kind of just got this. I mean, it wasn't bad, but there's a movie, and I don't like the Jaws comparison. That was one of the major flaws. If Godzilla is meant to be seen, that is the person. No, there's a movie you'll see that has a good story behind it. It's one of the very few examples of a good Godzilla plot. But Godzilla movies are meant to see the action. There is a movie in my top 3 that is the perfect example of the Jaws less is more. And I think you might know what it is. I'm not going to say what it is until we get there, because I'm going to talk about a million times there. But
all right,
it's one of my favorite movies of all time, flat out here. But I mean, Godzilla, it was a good. I'm not taking anything. It's good, but it was a letdown from what many thought it would have been.
All right. What's your number 8?
My number 8. Oh, my friend turned it on. My number 8 is, well, we'll go off Godzilla. I have, just because of it was good, but I have ranked so low because of what's above it, and that's Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Okay.
Not the 1954, the 2018, or 2018, 2019, whatever version. I've said it many times before on this pod, absolute master. It was just really well done. It was every Godzilla fan's dream. Monster fight, plot second, whatever. Nobody cares about the plot, but The monster's really well done. They're portrayed very well. The fights are incredible. Mothra is portrayed incredible. King Ghidorah is finally shown as this unstoppable force, and it's just really, really well done. Rodan, it's just, and it sets itself up for Godzilla versus Kong, and there's really just so much to look forward to. And it was just so well done. And I really give the props to the director. He's a major Godzilla guy. It was a great movie.
My number 8 is Clover from the Cloverfield back in 2008, and I know this is your baby. The Cloverfield monster is probably the best because it's kind of like the Joker. It doesn't have an origin. It's this like mysterious monster, and I go back to when I first saw this film.
Actually, it does have an origin.
Was that?
It does have an origin.
What's the origin?
We'll get to it. You finish talking. We'll get back. We'll circle back.
All right, you're the expert. So Cloverfield was just a really refreshing monster movie when it came out. There wasn't anything like it before, and I just want to give a shout out to Matt Reeves because that was the director of Cloverfield, who is also doing the Batman, which has been kind of everything I've been talking about the last month. Which is number 7, or talk about Cloverfield. Go ahead, man.
So it's not explained in the movie, there's a lot of ARG, alternative reality game, that helps. I mean, you don't have to do it, but a lot of people have done it, and it helps explain the initial Cloverfield narrative. It obviously, with Cloverfield Paradox and 10 Cloverfield Lane, we'll talk about them more later, it's kind of throwing a swing into the exact origin, but the basic plain and simple is there's this drilling company off the coast of, I forget exactly where, but it's called Tagarado, and one of their subsidiaries is this Slusho. And their main ingredient, the sweetener, is this stuff called seabed's nectar. And there's nothing up with it. And they're drilling it. And the tagline for Slusho is you can't drink 6. Or so they can't drink just 6. And there's like a thing like somebody that drank like 7 and they went crazy. Like there's something with the seabed's nectar. And this Cloverfield monster has been hibernating for forever, living off of this seabed's nectar. And you see in the end, there's a post-credit scene. You kind of see Beth and Rob, they're on like this Ferris wheel, and there's this something falls in the background. People think, oh, it's Clover falling in the ocean, but no, it's a satellite. It's a satellite of another subsidiary that goes in the ocean, actually hits and wakes up Clover. So Clover's kind of fed off of this seabed's nectar. So that's kind of where it comes from. That's kind of the skinny of it.
Okay, very
so we'll talk about more Cloverfield later. It'll come later, but that's kind of the background of it. Granted, in the movie, it's not explained. In a nutshell, the movie doesn't explain it, but major fans outside know of the story.
Okay, very cool. Very cool.
Anyway,
all right.
My number 7.
Go ahead, man.
My number 7 is A Quiet Place. A Quiet Place.
Mm-hmm.
Really well done. I mean, I talked about it before on the pod. It's just a new, innovative story. John Krasinski, incredible job. It's majority of it's quiet. I mean, because you can't make noise because of the monsters. We'll explain more in the sequel. It's coming out soon, but it's a really creative idea. It was a fresh take, and it was just so well done. The shooting, the camera work was incredible. The work of just silence and incorporating it was really just well done, and it was a great story. It was emotional, and even, I mean, it kind of had that, you talked about the Jaws, Cloverfield-esque, less is more of the monsters. You don't see them until the end, and I think it's played off very well in this movie. So overall, I thought it was really well done.
I just love Cloverfield. It's so good. My number 7 is Hellboy back in 2004, and I can't make a suit up podcast without putting like some sort of superhero film in a rankings here. But Hellboy is one of the most badass monster anti-villain, anti-hero, whatever you want to call him. So he's got my number 7 on this list. I mean, who doesn't love the origin story of Hellboy? Is one of the best. You have the Nazis, you have experimentation, you have heaven and hell. There's so much to love about Hellboy. Guillermo del Toro is the director. We're going to get a lot more into him very soon. But Hellboy, man, I love Hellboy. He's just such a personable character that's from hell, and I just love him.
There's a new one coming out, right?
Yeah, well, there was one that just came out, and it was absolutely terrible. The guy from Stranger Things was the main character, and it was god awful.
Yes, that answered my question.
I don't think there's another one coming out.
That's probably the one I was thinking of because I remember looking on Reddit a while back. It was like to look at the new Hellboy. So I didn't know the movie came out. I guess that's why I didn't know it came out. It was not that good.
Yeah, it was really, really
But
bad. It was like some of the worst CGI visual effects you'll ever see in a movie like that. It was really, really bad. It was just, ugh, it was very, very disappointing. I pretend not to. I pretend to think like that movie never happened because the first two Hellboys are so good. Uh, anyway, what's your number 6, man?
I have King Kong, 1933 version. It's just a classic. And it's just probably the first of monster movies. It's a classic story. Everybody knows King Kong. Find him Skull Island, Ragtag Roo going to film a documentary, bring him back in New York, showcase him, gets loose, Empire State Building. Everybody knows the story. The Ray Harryhausen, it was just incredibly well done. I guess you would say claymation, or I don't know what you exactly would call it, is just incredible. King Kong snapping the dinosaur's neck. I
Yep.
mean, everything. I mean, it's just timeless. I mean, it was. I mean, we've seen it. I mean, we saw Skull Island. We saw the 2005 version of Peter Jackson. There was the 80s or the 70s version, I guess you would say. It's been done time and time again, but nothing will really. 2005 got close, but nothing will ever top the 1933 King Kong.
My number 6 is the 2005 King Kong. So good, so good. So yeah, the
We
eighth
couldn't have
wonder.
lined this if we tried. We couldn't have lined this if we tried.
That's so funny. The eighth wonder of the world makes my top 10 list here. Yeah, the movie is really.
Andre the Giant.
What's that?
Did Andre the Giant?
But yeah, it's a really, really fun film that is just boiled down to like what makes a monster a monster. And I think what I loved about Peter Jackson's King Kong, especially the original, it's just like it's the King Kong boils down to a monster movie where the monster is not the actual monster in the film. The humans are the monster. And I love the heart of King Kong. I just love it, man. That's my number 6.
All right. Ooh, I guess I'll go my number 5. My number 5, I'll preface this as when the trailer came out for this, I thought I was dreaming. I was probably, God, maybe 13, 14. I mean, I'm trying to think exactly, like 14, 15 years old. And I woke up and I saw this on YouTube when I checked, because I don't know, I just always, before Twitter, I checked YouTube to see, what happened last night. And it was one of my very first audible what the fucks.
Okay.
That is 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Nice.
It was 6 years after the first Cloverfield, and it dropped like out of nowhere. Like it literally just fell out of the sky. There's no prefacing this. Nobody was expecting it, and I was just shell shocked in my bed, having to go to high school the next day, like in an hour, and I was like, "What the hell?" But it was. I mean, many people didn't know what's going on. It is tied, but it's not a sequel to 2008 Cloverfield. It's standalone in the same universe with the paradox. It's part of the multiverse, I guess you would say. But it's one of the best thrillers, I think, in modern day. I mean, Dan Trachtenberg, I believe, is the director for that. It was just John Goodman does an incredible job in that movie. It is just so well done. I mean, the trailer, I mean, the song still plays in my head. The children behave. But I really love the movie. I mean, it's just, and the twists and the turns and how it just slowly just descends into chaos, and the aliens at the end, you don't know what's out there, and it's just, some think it's, I mean, really you don't know. I mean, some people think there's nothing, some people think it's like a nuclear wasteland, and it really throws you for a loop, because once she breaks out of there, it's normal. Like, she takes off her gas mask and she's like, oh, it's normal outside, and then you see the UFOs. Like, and it's just, it's the camera work, because half of the movie is set in this very claustrophobic, like, I'm gonna say something, bomb shelter, and they do a really good job of showing how claustrophobic it is in there and how it really is just a small area. And you slowly just see John Goodman descend into madness and show his true self. And it's so well done. It's a great movie in general. I didn't place it high enough because I wouldn't really consider it a monster movie because there's aliens at the end, but it's a really well done. It's one of the best movies on this list.
I definitely got you, man. I totally. That's a great one. It's not on my list. I really enjoyed that movie. Like you said, John Goodman puts in a powerhouse performance in that. My number five, and this is a phenomenal movie and movie monster. It is The Pale Man from Pan's Labyrinth back in 2006. Have you ever seen Pan's Labyrinth?
Yeah, it's the guy that's like this, with his eyes in his hand.
Yep. Pale Man is the antagonist of this movie. Directed by Guillermo del Toro, the man, one of my favorite directors of all time. But the Pale Man is this like humanoid monster with eyes in his hands. He's got pale, elastic skin. He's literally eating children. You see children's clothes in the background. He eats them whole. It is one of the best movie monsters of all time. And quick nod to Pan's Labyrinth film score, one of the best of all time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really well done movie. I think it's a good movie. It's itself not even just a monster movie, like you kind of said. Yeah, I mean, I think it was really good.
What's
My
your number
number
four?
4. This is when we get into my darlings, my babies. My number 4 is Super 8.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever watched a trailer more than the first Super 8 trailer. Do you remember that?
Of course I do, man. That's Spielberg, right?
Yeah, it was Spielberg. It was J.J. Abrams, Spielberg. It was kind of like it was a love story to the Steven Spielberg 80 movies,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it,
totally.
it's animated. It's like, well, not animated. It's CGI. It's like shows this truck running into like this train, and it's there's like a containment, whatever you call whatever on trains, the little wagons, I guess. And there's something breaking out of it, and you don't know what it is. And there's flickers, and you kind of like see the kid's face. That's like the protagonist of the story, and you really don't know. It was a lot like the first Cloverfield trailer. You didn't know what the hell is going on, and I don't. The amount of time and hours and I spent watching breakdown trailers, theories, rewatching the trailer myself, trying to form it. I couldn't tell you how much time I lost in that. I don't regret a single second of it. It was such a phenomenal movie. I mean, and then when it finally came to light, I mean, I don't think anything could live up to it because people had such high expectations. Nobody knew what the hell to expect. Everybody wanted their own story, but they did a really great job, and it was very reminiscent of Close Encounters,
Mm-hmm.
E.T., a lot of these Spielberg movies. And just this monster is just stuck and wants to go home in the military, and it plays a lot on the Cloverfield Jaws, less is more aspect. He's hidden in the trees. It's a lot of jump scares, cuts, a lot. The story is fantastic. I mean, what's his from Friday Night Lights? He's in King of the
He's
Monsters.
in King Kong too.
Yeah.
I
What the
forget
hell is
it.
his name? Coach Taylor. We'll say Coach Taylor.
He's in
But
so many movies.
Coach Taylor, he does a really great job in this. He's a dad. He's the main character's dad / he's a police cop, and it's just the military plays a lot of it. It's a really, I don't want to say much about spoiling. It's just so really well done, and it's just a great. I might just go watch it after we're done here. I really just want to see it now. I'm talking about because I haven't seen it in a little bit, but it was a really well done movie, and I thought it was fantastic. It was a great send off to the Spielberg movies.
Absolutely. It was a complete homage to Steven Spielberg. I love that movie, man. I think the best monster movies are the ones that the monsters aren't even the main character. The carnage and the destruction and the everything going on with the monster is in the background. Whereas, and this is what Spielberg was so good at, is like moving the plot in those human moments with the monster happening in the background. And that's what I think Super 8 did really, really well. My number four has to be Gollum from Lord of the Rings. Smeagol. Gollum was, everyone knows about Gollum. He was banished from his village, and then eventually went from Smeagol to Gollum, and the rest is history, man. This is a guy that He befriends Sam and he befriends Frodo Baggins, and meanwhile he's trying to get this plot of trying to kill them and get his ring back. Just awesome character. I love Smeagol, man. That's my number 4.
All right. These are my big. Well, I mean, I told you my big hitters, but my top 3. I hope these are on your list somewhere. They deserve to be. Number 3. I guess one is. Number 3 is Shin Godzilla, or also known as Godzilla Resurgence. Have you seen Shin Godzilla?
I've never seen it. Nope.
I gotta get a visual to help with this. So it's a very new take on the Godzilla story. It's a whole new story. He goes through these mutations, and he starts off. He's just like this fish with like no arms, just going through Tokyo, and then freezes up, and then he turns into this.
Okay.
This is like the second form. We kind of see him walking. He's growing hands. His like gills. And the third form, he keeps developing these forms, and there's no way of stopping him. And like he gets this purple. It's like atomic blast on Barry Bond steroids. He just like gets angry and his jaw unhinges and just shoots forward. Anything it touches, it completely explodes and sets everything on fire around it. And then he gets it on the end tail, and then he gets it on his spines, and it's just shooting everywhere. It's like probably the most ungodly attack I've ever seen by a monster in a monster movie. And by the end of the movie, like there's these little humanoid things on the tails. You don't know what's coming next in the story, and it's just so well done. It's just a very horror, dark Godzilla movie. It's what a lot of people thought was going to come out of Godzilla 2014, and we're really glad we got to see it in Shin Godzilla. It was just the acting, everything about it was just incredibly well done. I feel like I've said that a lot so far. It was incredibly well done, but the mutation, there was such a fresh take with the mutations, these new moves, like what you don't know what's coming next. It set itself up for a sequel. I don't know if we're going to get one. I kind of like the cliffhanger end to it, but I just love Shin Godzilla. It was my second favorite Godzilla movie.
Oh, is there a number 1? All right, let's go into number 3. I think we're on number 3 here. Go ahead, man.
I just give my number 3.
All right. So my number 3 is the Velociraptor from Jurassic Park, 1993. Probably the first thing you think of with Jurassic Park is the T-Rex. Not me, man. It has to be the Velociraptor. I mean, the first T-Rex scene in Jurassic Park is like hands down probably the most memorable movie scene of all time. It is on that list. But for me, the Raptors, avoid the high grass. They open doors. They're the best, man. I love the Raptors. I owned all their action figures when I was a kid. I came into this movie when I was like 10 years old. I was like so enamored with dinosaurs. Then Spielberg drops this dinosaur movie. If I had to make a list of my top 5 movies of all time, Jurassic Park is on this list. I have to add the Raptor is on my top 3.
May of 2019 ruined the word Raptor for me.
May of 2019?
Game 7.
the quadruple doink? That's so funny. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I didn't have any Jurassic Park on my list, but the Velociraptor, I never have seen a resurgence of a dinosaur in the pop culture like I have with the Velociraptor. I mean, it was always, I feel like, I grew up before or after Jurassic Park, but just looking back, I feel like it was always just T-Rex, Stegosaurus, Pterodactyl, like Triceratops, like your basics.
Yeah.
And then the Velociraptor said, I'm changing things up.
Yeah. Like, this terrifying dinosaur that hunts in packs is super intelligent. It's basically the dinosaur that probably would have taken over planet Earth, without that comet, whatever. But it was just my favorite because the clever girl. I think I've said clever girl in like regular conversation with my friends for like, oh my gosh, decades, man. It's Jurassic Park. the Velociraptor is hands down one of my favorites.
Yeah. You ready for my top two?
Top two. Go ahead, man.
My number two, talked about a little bit before and a little bit after that. I'm going to talk about more. Cloverfield.
Love it. Love it. Go ahead, man.
Cloverfield, I think, was the original biggest what the hell is going on with this trailer. Did you see Transformers in the theater?
Yeah. Hell yeah, man.
Do you remember that trailer? Here's the
My
thing.
memory of the trailer going into Transformers. We're talking about the new Transformers, right? Yeah.
The first Transformers live action movie.
Yeah, Michael Bay. All right. So my first reaction to the trailer was I was not impressed, and the movie was a real surprise.
Are you talking about the Cloverfield trailer?
No, Transformers.
No. The Cloverfield trailer debuted in front of Transformers. That's why I'm bringing it up.
Okay.
But it was the biggest because it was nobody knew what the hell was going on. They didn't show the monster. They just showed a party and like explosions and the Statue of Liberty getting thrown across New York. There was no name to it. Nobody was called Cloverfield. It said 1/18/08. That's all everybody knew. That's all anybody knew about. And that's when I talk about the alternative reality game, kind of piece things together. You still don't know what the hell the monster was. People thought it was Voltron. People thought it was a Voltron movie. Some thought it was a giant lion. Like
some sort of Dinobot movie.
Nobody knew what the hell was going on with this movie. And that's what I loved about it. And when you get into the movie, and it's still like that, it was a found footage camera. I mean, it was very well done. Obviously, it was a lot like what the hell, Blair Witch.
Yeah, it was a found footage film. Yep.
Yep. So it was just the shaky cam. I made a couple people sick, but I really loved the idea of it. It made me feel like I was there. That's what I really liked about it. And you just saw glimpses of the monster. You saw the tail smashing the Brooklyn Bridge. You saw it running behind the Empire State Building. They were keeping it very secretive, and it was really great because you would see them go into like these like corner stores in New York, and you just see them a bunch of people huddled around just watching CNN. Like the people live in the city, they don't even know what's going on. And as you get through and throughout the movie, you see a little more glimpses and pieces, and then you finally see the whole thing as you move on. And then they go on, and I think the best shot is they're going down the street, and then they're go through alleys and stuff, and then you just see them come out, and you just see tanks and army soldiers, these guys just shooting RPGs, and you finally see the monster's face, and holy crap!
Mm-hmm.
And then they go down the subway.
Yeah,
and that's when the horror aspect of it starts with the parasites. And you don't know what the hell these parasites are, and you can't see. It's dark, and they're turning on the night vision on the camera. And these parasites are like the size of pit bulls. Like they aren't little. Like you think parasite, you think of like little ticks or something. These are like full size. Well, they're small to the monster, but they're big to us. And they are. Remember I told you about the seabed's nectar?
Yeah.
And made people go crazy. So these things are like filled. Like their blood is seabed's nectar. Like that's how much they have in them. And the one bites the girl. And they take it back, and you see the seabed's nectar is making her go crazy. She blows up. You don't see her blow, but you see her blow up behind a curtain. But overall, I'm talking too much about this movie. Yeah. Overall, it was just so original. I just love every aspect of it. I've seen it so many times. And yet it's still the number 2 monster movie on my list.
Oh man, I can't wait for number 1. And I like how you brought up that scene. That's probably my most favorite scene in Cloverfield, when you finally get the reveal of the monster's face. You see them crossing the street, and you see the monster's face just like tower over them. That was a really, really memorable scene. That was really, really cool. It like just you kind of threw you back in your seat when you finally see the monster. My number 2 is The Predator from 1987. Hands down, the best monster character model of all time, man. The Predators kill for sport. They kill for honor. It's just, they are the Tony Starks of the galaxy. They got all these gadgets, just advanced technology, spaceships, whatever you want. They got it. The Predator, man, they got the active camouflage, energy weapons. Man, it's just, they're the Avengers of the galaxy. And they were just kind of that, they're basically the smallest versions of the T-Rex. They don't want to be fed. They would just want to hunt. That's their whole thing, is to be the best hunter. And I just thought that was so cool. The Predator, 1987.
All right. You ready for mine? Do you want me to go with my number one first? Or do you want to go with your number one first?
You probably already know. If I go Predator number 2, you probably know what my number 1 is. My number 1 movie monster has to be the alien xenomorph from Alien 1979. Just the best, most vicious movie monster of all time. These creatures have acid blood. They're kind of like solitary ambush predators, but what makes them so famous is the queen. And the queen is just this single massive xenomorph that, that relationship between that and Sigourney Weaver that was my childhood growing up watching Alien and Aliens, and it's got to be my number 1. What's your number 1, man?
My number one is, I think everybody agrees, the greatest monster movie of all time. That is the original 1954 Godzilla.
Nice.
It was obviously a fresh, brand new. It was to tell the tales of nuclear war and what it would bring. There's just I know we talk a lot about how I mentioned a lot. Monster movies are not about the plot. There's very few exceptions, and I think Godzilla 1954 is the biggest exception to that. It is so plot driven. It just really talks about what horrors he brings. It's just the hospitals, the kids singing, the dead body. It's a really moving and powerful film, and it really showed what Japan was going through during World War II with Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And it's just a very beautiful, very well done movie. Obviously, with Godzilla mixed in. The fun fact: Godzilla 1954 is much smaller than the other Godzillas.
Yeah, right.
He would stand. I think Godzilla 2014 is probably about 3 or 4 or 5 times the size of Godzilla 1954.
And that was
it's just they want. I mean, Godzilla's always grown with the size of how buildings have grown. So as skyscrapers gotten taller, so has Godzilla.
And that was my biggest take with the new Godzilla movies, is how is King Kong going to compete with this massive Godzilla?
He's young. He's a baby.
Okay.
So he's going to grow. That is a very young. You have to think Kong is probably about like a 16-year-old kid.
Okay.
So he will be entering his prime by the time he gets to Godzilla versus Kong. That's not an issue. They've talked about how gigantic his parents were in the movie, so he will grow. That's not something to worry about.
Love it. Any last comments before we wrap it up, man?
Nothing. I finally got a lot off my chest about monster movies. It really felt great. I'm sure we'll have more of them going forward, but it's glad to share my list with you guys.
All right. Make sure you check out the Suit Up Podcast on Twitter at SuitUpTPL. For Jack, follow him on Twitter at JackConnellTPL. For Jack, for myself, thanks for watching, guys. Stay awesome.
See ya.